A very good evening and welcome to another edition of Every Voice Matters. Every Voice Matters is a program of Fat Corner Project to educate and raise awareness of young people in Africa towards our expected roles in politics, nation building, governance, and leadership in their respective countries. The program is published on Fat Corner social media channels with audience in more than 50 countries across Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. To know more about Fat Corner Project and to watch our previous videos on Every Voice Matters, please visit our website at www.fatcorner.org and follow our social media channels, Fat Corner on YouTube and Fat Corner on Facebook. My name is Gideon Oguniye and I'm your host on the program today. Today we are discussing youth politics in Africa. And the question is, are young people in Africa taking active roles in the politics of their respective countries? What are the ways to enhance youth participation in political processes in Africa? These are the main questions that we are going to be considering on the program today. And more importantly, as a way of introduction, I just want to quickly give some study that have been published on youth participation in politics in Africa. According to a study published on the website of Afrobarometer, most African countries are grappling with demographic youth bulge. The median age of Africans is 19 years compared to with 42 years for Europeans, and the youth currently comprise 70% of Africa's population. Youth unemployment remains high in Africa, and approximately 72% of African youth live on less than $2 a day. The study also finds that Africa's youth tend to vote less and express a lower level of partisanship, that is attachment to a particular political party, than older citizens. Finding also raise the questions of whether the electoral processes is a legitimate means of conveying young people's concerns and whether political parties are accurately representing younger citizens' interests. The African Union acknowledged the importance of investing in young people by adopting the African Youth Charter about 10 years ago and later declaring 2009 through 2018 the African Youth Decade. It developed an action plan to empower youth and promote their participation in politics. However, as events in many African cities and various surveys have shown, plans to get more youth elected to political office have not been translated into actions. These are the questions that our guests on the program today will be discussing. So I have on the program with me a special guest, Lanre Asiwaju, who is a public policy analyst and currently a PhD candidate at the University of Malaya in Malaysia. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in Physical Sciences from Adekunle Ajasin University, Akungba Akoko, Ondo State, Nigeria. And he also has a master's degree in Physical Sciences from Newcastle University in the United Kingdom. He's a member of the American Association of Petroleum Geologists and the Geological Society of Malaysia. He's passionate about Nigeria, energy production, and economic development. We have Lanre joining us from Malaysia today. Welcome to the program, Lanre.
Thank you, Gideon, and it's nice journey on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We are so delighted to have you. We are discussing a very important topic today. And my first question to you, let me tell you about another study according to a professor of political science and African studies at Michigan State University in the United States, Professor Michael Brattin. He says that African youth are less likely to vote in national elections, as we've seen and we've observed voter apathy among young people across Africa. They are less likely to engage in civic activities and also to join others in raising issues compared to their headers. So my question is, why is it that despite being active when it comes to political protest, young people in Africa are often less engaged in the overall political processes across the continent?
Yeah, thank you. I think the first thing to notice, this is actually a global issue, but it's more peculiar to Africa now, given the fact that we've got a huge number of citizens who are young. So it's a bigger problem in Africa than everywhere else, given the young, and like you mentioned in your prologue, we've got a huge bulge in Africa. That said, as a Nigerian, some of my experiences I'll be relating and based on my experience as a Nigerian and as a voter in Nigeria. So it's important to first note that prior to independence, a lot of the people who spoke against colonialism and who campaigned for independence were young people. They were in their 30s, in their 40s. You had the Awolowos, the Ahmadu Bellos. So it's always been like this. Even when we had in the Nadeko days in 1993, post the election 1993, and you had the Nadeko, there were a lot of younger people who were involved with the project. So, but the problem is, if you're a young person today, which that means you must be below the age of 35, that must mean you were born in the year 1986 or later. So if you're a Nigerian, it will mean you grew up in a military dictatorship. And when democracy returned in 1999, what we had was nothing close to a democracy. I mean, the 2003 and 2007 elections were charmed by the cost throughout a lot of those elections. So you grew up to witness a system that was shambolic. So at the issue, there was no trust in the system. Young people grew up to a system that they could not trust. And so they just would not be able to participate in the system. That's one point. Another point is we've had democracy in Nigeria for about 20 years, thereabout. But what we've got is, stagflation. Nigeria now currently, we are barely growing in Nigeria. GDP rate that was just released was about 0.5. Don't forget that population growth is about 2.6%. So if you're doing 0.5% economic growth when your population growth is about 2%, 2.6%, that's very good. Inflation is about 18%. So young people, youth unemployment is about over 50%, I think 53.4. That's the last statistics from the MBS. So it's difficult for people to trust a system that has not given them any dividends. So that's the second issue. So the third issue is the fact that we've not been able to, as young people, to connect our choices to outcomes. So people don't know that elections have consequences. Why? Because they not had good governance before. So they can't cherish good governance and they don't know that they're losing something. So I give an instance. The Nigeria economy is by any measure now under great stress. But it will take an advanced degree in economics for you to connect the fact that Nigeria runs a multi-tier exchange rate system to why there are no investment coming in. And so, because young people are often do not understand the issues in great detail, it means they cannot make informed choices at the poll. Don't forget that democracy at the end of the day needs citizens to be informed and to also be well behaved. So these are some of the issues. Also, the party system in Nigeria is not clearly delineated. So you have parties with not clear-cut ideologies. If you're a Democrat in the US, if you're a Republican in the US, there are clear tenets that those parties advocate. If you're in the UK and you're a Tory or you're in the Labour Party, there are clear tenets on liberty, on economic principles, on freedom and things like that. But in Nigeria, it's more of a personality cult, so to speak. Where there are no clear ideas on parties. So it's even difficult for you as an individual to follow party development in Nigeria. Because in a party today, you've got a candidate who believes in personal freedom. The next election, you've got a party who believes in something else. So it's difficult for you to follow. So some of the issues. Also, I think in the last few years, we've had candidates that are not charismatic. In public speaking, you look at someone like Obama, across the globe, people want to listen to him. I'm not sure there are leaders in Nigeria, in Africa, that people want to listen to, on issues. Yes, we're having, I think dynamics is a bit changing. You have, some presidents in Ghana, speaks quite clearly and articulately, and of course sensibly too. That's important too. It's not just about sounding nice too. It's also about being reasonable. So these are some of the issues I think. We can say is has caused the youth to be not involved in the political process. So the dictatorship that most of the young people grow up with, it's a big part. The non-functionality of the Nigerian state, it's by any means a failing state, by any measure you want to look at it. So all of this do not inspire confidence in the system. And when there's a trust gap, I think what we have is not going to be surprising.
Thank you very much for that opening. A very good point you've raised. People don't trust the system, most especially young people. They don't trust the political system. They don't trust the politicians, and they don't even know how to be part of this political structure, given that the political parties in Africa don't have clear-cut principles that the parties run on. And you've also talked about lack of charismatic leadership in Africa as part of the reasons. But if you have been observant, you would see that young people in Africa sort of use online platform to hear their opinions, to agitate, and they are talking a lot on digital platforms, but that does not translate into any action in the area of political processes. So could it be that we found our voice as young people on the social media, on digital platforms, but not in the political arena? What is your take on this?
I think first, I would think it's easier to tweet than to register to vote. So it's easier to tweet, to just sit down in the comfort of your home and tweet. Don't forget that in 2011, there was this each violence that followed the elections in Nigeria. Young commoners lost their lives. So we grew up with a system that's quite violent. So I remember when I was growing up, and my mom and dad would tell me, we're going to vote, but you cannot follow us because we cannot tell what will happen at the polling votes. So, people cannot just go out of that violence that occurred in the past. So people can vent from the comfort of their homes. It's difficult to go out and to vote. So also we have a problem of data in Nigeria. I think we can make it easier to vote. We can make it easier to vote. And one will be automatic registration. Once you are 18, it means you are automatically enrolled to vote, and you just pick up your voter ID. And then we can also do continuous. I don't see why we cannot do continuous registration. Right now, we're only allowed to register to vote maybe probably 3 months or 6 months to an election. I don't see why you cannot be able to register to vote across entire duration of the year. And also, there are some intangible costs attached to voting too. You probably have to, stand hours to register, equipment failures. All of those things play a part. Don't forget also that on social media, people can vent easily, and they are venting their displayer at the system that has failed them.
Yeah,
asking them to vote, that will mean a vote of confidence in that system. So it's like contradictory when people vent and they're angry with the system, and you're still expecting them to go and vote. That vote is simply a vote of confidence in the system, and the confidence they do not have in the system. So I think if we want to get more people off Twitter and Facebook, we've got to help them to have more confidence in the system, that when they vote, their vote will count. When they vote, they will not die. People have partook in the electoral system and they died. They lost their lives. I'm not sure anybody remembers people who died in 2011 after the violence erupted in the election. So these are some of the issues why, of course, you are in the safety of your home, you can tweet, it will cost you nothing than data, but it can cost your life to actually get out of your house to go and vote. So I would think that these are some of the issues.
So what is the way forward to these issues? You've talked about lack of trust in the system, even people are afraid of their lives, and they are kind of passing votes of no confidence on the system on social media. So how do we? Because if people don't leave social media to actually be active or to participate in the political processes, joining political parties, voting in elections for credible candidates, we are not going to have any solution. We are just going to be stuck in one place. So how do we move these agitations from the social media to the political processes to make sure that young people participate? What is the way forward in all of this?
First, I would say there are no magic silver bullets. We just have to keep the advocacy, like this program we're on, voter enlightenment. People need to understand the issues better. People need to understand that, there's a consequence to a vote. Every vote must be cast with due diligence. They need to know that when you sit on your couch and you don't leave your home and you don't vote, you have no right to complain that you are being ruled by idiots or by poor leaders, so to speak. So, we need to go to drive on that point that you must get out and vote. Also, it is in the interest of the political elites to actually have people come out to vote. Because when people do not come out to vote and the system continues to lose credibility, it is even bad for the credibility of that leadership. Because you get to a point where probably less than 10% of eligible voters come out to vote. And what does that tell about the legibility of that government? So it should be in their interest to promote policies that encourage people to come out to vote. We're in the digital age. Yes, we won't get there in a day, but there should be plans to get to e-voting. We should plan to get it. We can experiment with the diaspora vote, diaspora population. Okay, let's try e-voting. We try with a small election, like let's say a municipal election or a state election, and then we perfect the system. So there are no easy fixes. The fundamental, we must keep, and the advocacy, keep talking to young people, especially to know that elections have consequences. When you don't go out and vote and people who are incompetent win, then you have no right to complain. So I think we need to just keep driving on that point.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the initiatives that these political elites have put in place to encourage young people's participation in politics and in governance. Talk about in Kenya, there is a policy to reserve 12 parliamentary seats for representatives to be nominated by political parties, and they leave those 12 parliamentary seats for young people with disabilities, and workers. In Uganda, you have a policy, National Youth Council, to elect 2 members to the chambers of deputies. You have similar policy in Morocco, where 30 seats are reserved for candidates that are under the age of 40. In Nigeria, we've seen legislations like Not Too Young to Rule, Not Too Young to Run bill, and some other legislation. You've seen Nigerian Youth Parliament. So I think these are some of the initiatives that have been put in place to encourage young people participation in political processes. So as a public policy analyst, what is your assessment of these initiatives and policies, and do you think it has give us the desired results, or are there ways to improve on them so that we can have more younger people participating in political processes?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I'll say the results have been missed. Missed. Because you look at the last election in Nigeria, youth candidacy increased from 21% to about 34%. So that's an improvement. But the poor part or the bad part is that just less than 1% of them were elected. So it's one thing for you to run as a candidate, it's another thing for you to win. So there are structural issues as to why people do not win. Now, but I think the bill, for example, that you referenced, Not Too Young to Run, it was passed into law in 2018, and people it was used for the 2019 election. So like I said, it's been mixed. That said, I think one of the main issues, plaguing youth participation is the high entry cost.
Yeah.
Nigeria, for example, we run a federal system, and a presidential federal system, and the cost of running for election is just too expensive. That's one. Also, don't forget that the average age for a Nigerian graduate is probably around 23 to 24 or there, but from my experience. And that would mean years of toiling for you to raise enough money in savings for you to run for office. That also means years for you to garner experience, because it's also about people running for office and running for the sake of it. People should have enough experience to be able to function effectively in such offices. So while you're out of university, I said 24, but then you can't get a job. So how do you get experience?
Yeah.
So you can't get experience, you can't get money. So it means probably you're getting your first job at 29, 30. I don't see the magic for you to raise 7 million. For example, I think that was the cost to get a party ticket for, at the Senate, House of Rep election in 2019 for most of the parties, about around 7 million naira. So, how much years of work will you do to raise such amount of money? And don't forget that elections.
Okay, so if we look at these issues you raised, these are some of the bottlenecks or barriers preventing young people from participating in political processes in young people in Africa. So I think these are issues that can be addressed with quality policy and initiatives, apart from the one that are in existence, to address some of these bottlenecks or challenges. But I think what we need to talk about as your final note on the program is, how do we get young people to be involved in the design of these policies that can address these challenges that we have and all these issues that we have? So how do we get young people to be involved in the design and the implementation of these policies?
I'll say the first thing is young people need to get more involved. We need to get our hands dirty. We need to be involved in the process. The political elite, in their interest, should also make it conducive for young people to come in. Now, I give an instance. I know people who have self-funded themselves and to raise money to get nomination forms, and somehow a leader in the party says they cannot contest. Issues like that needs to be dealt with at the party level. The party needs to get more ideological and to start for something such that they have policies that encourage you to. For example, I know I think APC and PDP at some point in Nigeria for women, they waived nomination fees, certain fees. I think that should be extended to younger people. Certain fees should be waived, such that more younger people can come in. But another problem is this: once we need to demonetize the election system. The election system is too expensive. Why? Because voters get paid. That's people get stipends to vote. So these are people. The younger people get paid. So we must tell ourselves we want to be well behaved. I will not spend my vote. So if there are no people to take kickbacks or to take stipends, politicians will then know we need to now run on the issues, because people will not collect our money and simply vote us in. So we need to be well behaved. We need to also be well informed. You find people who tell you the House of Assembly member is not doing well, and why? Because he's not empowering. Is that the job of a legislature to empower? That's not the job. The job is to hold the executive accountable. So you don't complain that you have a governor that is not doing well when you have voted for legislative members who are unpicked by the governor. So we have to understand that there are consequences to our actions. So that's another thing. Another thing is politics is local. We must be involved. You must be a part of the community, and also understand that elections are not ending themselves. It's not just about running for election. There are also other ways you can get involved. Youth community initiatives. I remember when I was in Nigeria, we had a youth group. We organized debates for secondary students. talk to them about cultism. And I mean, I get a lot of friends on Facebook who are younger people then. I would now communicate to me and, oh, where are you? I mean, it's been longer I saw you. I hope you're fine. And things like that. It gladdens my heart. Because I ask, are you doing well? I hope you're fine. You're making progress in your lives. So there are other ways for we can't be a part of the community and a part of the system. It's not just about elections. Elections are not ends in themselves. And so we must do away with that idea. Also, we need more people to come in the system, but we need to set realistic expectations. You don't, when you run once and you lose, you don't say, I'm not gonna run again. You try again. Also, when you're coming in, you must have your values intact. You must have clear red lines. I will not do X, Y, Z. Once I have to do X, Y, then I rather leave the system. Because part of the problem we have is that a lot of young people come into the system and then they become what they've always preached against. And you cannot make a difference between them and those who have always been in the system. So we need to have clear, and that's why I don't encourage people to go into governance, young ones, without having a second address, without having had experience in life before politics, some sort of living before politics, such that you are not enticed or you are not lured to steal because you are trying to take care of tomorrow, so to speak. One final point on the system. You don't find a senator in the US, for example, who takes care of bills, hospital bills, accommodation bills, sundry bills. That's not their job. But that's the system that we run in Nigeria. If you're a senator, you have to take care of those things. So it's difficult for you to ask them to steal or to be well behaved when we are not well behaved. So it comes down to 2 points: education and behavior. We must be well behaved. Well behaved in what sense? We just depends. And we must not place undue demands on people. Because when you place this undue demands, it's a cycle. Once people steal to run for elections, when they get in, they have to steal to retain their office. And so it creates a vicious cycle of people stealing, and then when they get to the office, they steal again because they need to perpetuate themselves in that office. So, like I said, 2 issues: constant education, like what we're doing, advocacy, and also we have to teach young people to be well behaved. I think yes, they are not similar, but we're going to put in the hard work.
Yeah, thank you very much, Larry. I wish that we can continue this conversation, but because of our time, we will have to call it a day. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on the program today. So the take home for me is that young people have to be well behaved, have to be responsible, have to have good value systems, and have to participate in these processes. And it's not just about election. They can participate in other advocacy projects like the one that we are doing right now. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. And to our viewers, please like our Facebook page and our YouTube channel to have access to the previous editions of this program and also the subsequent edition. And thank you everyone for listening. And we meet again next week. Thank you.